Hi, I'm Lynn Barrett, and today we're going to be talking about the Putney Craft Tour. This is actually the 36th anniversary of the Putney Craft Tour, and this year we have something really exciting taking place in that it is a top 10 winter event as named by the Vermont Chamber of Commerce. We also, one of the things I thought we would start out with is that we have top 9 reasons to visit the Putney Craft Tour. I'm just going to tick some of them off. That'll get us thinking about what is the main important reason that we haven't named yet. And today, actually with me, I have Eddy, Blacksmith Eddy, Bob Burch, Glassblower extraordinaire, and Debbie Lazar, oil painter and baker as well.
Yes,
nice exactly. Okay, so we'll start with the top 9 reasons to visit the Putney Craft Tour. You can buy one-of-a-kind gifts direct from the artisans. Studios, this year we have something really exciting. Studios will be helping to fight hunger with art for sale, with proceeds going to the Putney Food Shelf. It's an adventure. You can meander the back roads, find the studios, and enjoy the beauty that inspires these artisans. It's up close and personal. You can talk to the artisans and see how they work. It's got locally sourced food. Many of the studios offer cider, honey, cheese, etc. for the road. It's the oldest continuous craft tour in the country. It actually started all of the craft tours that now take place all over the country. It's fun and easy. Just follow well-marked signs all around Putney. Tour maps are at each studio. And the number 1 reason, although we may come up with some others, to go on the Putney Craft Open Studio Tour, it's actually free. It doesn't cost anything, but we hope people will buy something when they see these wonderful items. So there are 26 artists on the tour. These are some of the finest craftspeople in Vermont and in the country. There are blacksmiths, glass blowers, potters, jewelers, woodworkers, and we have 2 this year, 2 artisan cheesemakers. The Gleanery and the Putney store are actually right in Putney, and they are going to be hosting exhibits, so people can actually go and take a look at maybe some of the artists. They might want to visit their studios and get maps and coffee and ask questions. Now, when does the tour start? It actually starts Thanksgiving weekend. So it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I know that you all are probably gearing up right now to get ready.
Even as we speak.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that.
Well, there have been Thanksgivings in the past where we have spent very little time having Thanksgiving because we've been behind times, as seems to be often the case, and cleaning the studio on the day before, trying to get things ready at the last minute and straightened up. And but we've become slightly more organized at my studio anyway over the year, and so we actually get to enjoy Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving Day, which is kind of nice.
That's very good.
And it gives us, at least Jenny and myself, an opportunity to look toward the fact that all of these people will be coming to the studio. And it's really nice to see people that come back, having been there several years. And it's also, for me, a really wonderful time to demonstrate what I do, my craft. And I think many of us on the tour do that. And I think it's one of the best things about the tour.
Bob, I know you do a lot of demonstrations, and you mentioned that you're going to be focusing on children this year.
Well, we kind of do that every year, but more so this year because I've really been putting some thought into how to get the kids involved. And usually what I do is adults are kind of hesitant, but kids, if you ask them a question, are really responsive. And so I'll get the kids to decide the color of a piece that I make, or what I'll make, whether they want to see me do a pumpkin or a large bowl that we spin out. And so I've really gotten into that And a side benefit is their parents usually want to buy the piece. So. But if
And they're
people-
probably taking pictures every second.
And we also do, requests. So if people have a special piece that they want to see made while they're there, we do that. So, but I really want to get into demonstrating to kids so they can understand how hot the piece is. Like we take molten glass, well, it's a liquid, and drip it onto a piece of wood, and it bursts into flame. And then we make a light tube so that you can see light going through the tube and coming out the other end, and I make a big curl, twisted curl, so you can see the light, kind of radiating out of the end. So we do a lot of stuff like that, and it's really fun, and we have a good time.
That's great. Debbie?
Well, Bob's studio is so much fun to visit. I go there other times in the year when he has it open, and it's just a lot of fun watching him work. It's just great. I'm in the process of turning my painting studio right now into a gallery. It's a great opportunity to clean it out completely at the end of the year and get ready for the tour. I have plenty of time for eating pie and turkey, and that'll be awesome too. I've really enjoyed meeting all the people that come on the tour. People from all over New England get in their cars and drive to Putney to see the tour. I've been very surprised at how many people come from out of state. So yeah, I haven't actually started cleaning yet. I think I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
But you also, I remember last year, or maybe the year before, you made special items for people. You made quince butter or something like that.
I made quince butter, and I'm still thinking about making something with apples or quince, so it'll be very fresh. I cook it in a slow cooker for a couple of days, and the flavor's really great. This year I'm actually thinking of engaging people like you're thinking, and maybe have an option for someone to do a very small painting. I'm going to have some very small canvases and a palette out, and if people want to do their own painting, they can either copy, I'm going to have a still life set up, I think, and they can either do that, or they could copy one of my paintings that's there. Just to allow people to, and I've got little frames so they can take home their own artwork. They want to just play around a little bit in the studio.
People always love that sort of genuine experience. So I think that sounds like a lot of fun. And Ian, so tell us a little more about your craft.
Well, it's pretty much distilled into just heating it and beating it. It's pretty basic. I think one of the things that sort of people find interesting about it, although they don't realize it, it's earth, fire, and water. And the earth is the actual steel that is a product of the earth, and the fire is what you use to make it malleable. And then when you want it to not be malleable and not burn you, you can quench it in the water. And that seems to be a pleasure for children who come and see the demonstration. They love it when that hot thing goes in and the big of it's cooling down. And one of the reasons that I do this is I like to make things that are pretty, but I also like to make things that have a function. And this is sort of an epitome of that.
Yeah,
it's a similar thing is just, this is a little key rack that I make. Again, it's that sort of organic thing on the ends, but it serves the function of having a place for you to put your keys. And I made the first one because I could never find my bloody keys when I needed them. So
Beautiful.
We have the one at home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's really nice.
it works pretty well.
Yeah.
It's good.
Now
good
I've
hand-
always,
good, good hand
that's
feel.
great. I've always been interested is how you get, now I'm turning to Bob for a minute, something inside, something like this. I mean, that's,
Yeah, me too.
how do you do that?
What we're doing is we're building up layers. This particular piece has probably about 10 or 12 layers in it. you can't tell it, but you start with the interior core, shape that, color that, do the work on it, and then
So beautiful.
what you can do is, like the tentacles in the bottom of the jellyfish have about 6 layers of glass in them. So that's just starting with that. There's 3 different colors and different amounts of those colors. And those are folded into that, and you can tell that there's a number of different colors in that, the bottom part. And then the top centerpiece is added on, and that's a combination of 3 layers of 2 different colors, a gold, ruby, and a white. Yeah, but we do demonstrations for the pieces like this all the time. So.
So Debbie, I know you brought some pieces, and maybe you could talk a little bit about your work, and I know you also paint outside as well.
I do.
So, plein air painter.
This is my latest creation, and it's the Brooks House, the new restaurant that just opened.
Duo Restaurant.
The Duo Restaurant. And the painting that's behind Lynn is of the Putney Community Garden. They have a huge collection of sunflowers that they actually have to get rid of most of them, but some of them stay on, and they just cover the garden after a while. This year I was fortunate enough to be included in 4 plein air competitions where you travel to a location, you have your canvases stamped, and you compete for 2 to 3 days. You paint on location, and when it's over you get your paintings into a frame, and then they display them and have a show, and you can win prizes and sell your paintings. So I traveled to Jupiter, Florida, Telluride, Colorado, Castine, Maine, and Uxbridge, Massachusetts for those. Did very well. I sold paintings at each one, met wonderful people. It's a great event, great thing to do. And I had a painting in Oil Painters of America, and one included in Hudson Valley Art Association, which was in the Salmagundi Club in New York City this year.
That's
so
very good.
I'm
That's
getting
great.
out into the
That's-
national
yeah.
scene,
Yeah.
and it's been wonderful.
Excellent. That's terrific.
So I really like working on location. I really love working from life, but sometimes you just can't. So I take the knowledge that I've gained from working from life and apply it to the larger paintings that I can't take out.
I'm always interested in how people get started in their craft. And Debbie, have you always been painting?
I would have to say that it's not a choice for me. It's just something I have to do. I probably started in kindergarten or nursery school with finger paint, and someone said, "Oh, that looks nice," and so it kept me going. And I've always been interested in doing art. I have a Bachelor of Fine Art degree from Windham College, which was here in Putney, and then I just study on my own. And I've done a number of different things. I do some photography. There probably some of my photo
you do
images.
some video as
Yeah,
well?
I work at
Yeah.
BCTV.
Yeah.
But there'll be some photograph images, and I may bring in. I've started a jewelry rescue. I buy broken pieces of jewelry and then put them back together into something. So some of my creations
Something new.
will be there.
Always thinking.
Some of the stuff I'm wearing today is some of the
Great.
jewelry that I've recovered from thrift shops or yard sales. Broken things that I then
That's
rebuild.
great.
Yeah.
That's great. Bob?
I first saw glass blowing done in 1969 down in Penland, North Carolina, and basically it stole my heart. It just totally, I'm still haven't recovered from it. It's one of the most beautiful, magical, sensuous mediums that there is as far as I'm concerned. I did ceramics for several years, and glass really pulled me to it. And I didn't spend any time thinking about how I was going to do it. I just was so involved in doing it that I didn't even think about it.
But it's also in your family.
My daughter is a glass blower. She does jewelry and blowing glass. She comes to my shop periodically to do larger work. And she also makes grandchildren, which I'm really thrilled with.
We heard you just had a new grandchild.
Just had a new one. My son is a ceramics major at Alfred University. He's graduating this year, and yeah, my youngest daughter is a photographer, so she's doing a lot of photography locally and doing very well at it. So the arts are kind of staying in the family, and my wife Nancy manages all of us.
Oh dear.
Ian, how did
I
you-
know that. Well, well, yeah, I have to put in a big kudos for my spouse, dear Jenny, who has gone through this from the very beginning, and she is really the glue that holds everything together. And I owe so much to her over the years. She does all the stuff that isn't the actual forging, and I'm deeply, deeply indebted to her for all that she's done, including when we were first married. We went to England, and we got to go and see. It was like Meet the Relatives tour, and so one of the relatives I met was her grandmother, whose husband had recently passed away, who was a retired British Army colonel and had taken up blacksmithing. And we got to go out to an outbuilding, which was his shop. And I peered in through the dusty window and saw all this really interesting stuff. And I said, that'd be kind of interesting to try. And that Christmas, I got a book called The Art of Blacksmithing from Alex Beeler, from Jenny. And I read up on this, and at that time, the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen was putting on a seminar for craftspeople, part of which was blacksmithing. And I went there and got to try it, and was up most of the time I was there. And it was the coolest thing to be able to take this material and push it around. And when I came back, I think I was probably about 6 feet off the ground. It was absolutely extraordinary.
So we talked a little bit in the beginning about the top 9 reasons to visit the Putney Craft Tour. Anybody have some new thoughts about the 10th reason, the number 1 reason to visit the Putney Craft Tour?
I think it's primarily to get to see the jewels that are in your own backyard, certainly for local people, because this is a most extraordinary area. Putney is vibrant with crafts and art, as is Brattleboro, but so is all of Windham County.
Yeah.
And we just have this wonderful thing that's hidden here in the hills. And it's really encouraging when local people come, but certainly when people from away come. It's wonderful. I love showing people what I do and how I do it. I like the questions, and I'm so jealous of these two because you have color that you can put in your work, and that is most extraordinary.
Spray paint.
A little gold.
Yeah, really. Hadn't thought about that.
Just really quickly, one of the things that you can do on the tour is that you can see a piece actually being made. You can buy a piece. You can get some of the history of how the pieces are designed and developed and worked on. And so if you're buying gifts, either for someone else or buying them for yourself, it gives more meaning to the pieces. It gives more depth to them, and I think it makes something more important. And so I think that's a nice part of the tour, is getting in touch with the actual history and where the piece comes from and how it comes about.
Mm-hmm. Deb, any
Yeah,
thoughts about
I
that?
think I agree with both of them that being able to meet the people is great. People come in and they're like, "Oh, you're good," and thank you. And we see a lot of groups, family groups that come because it's Thanksgiving weekend and families are together and they're looking for something fun to do. And what a great thing to go on a tour of artist studios and watch them working. And so I really love having families come in and ask questions about me and my work. And I also, I do a little bit of teaching. I have some supplies, I paint brushes I sell. So I'm always looking for people who want to take oil painting classes as well. So yeah, you might, and Bob I think does some teaching as well. So
yeah.
I teach a lot. I have probably 10 regular students now, and another 5 or 6 a week that come through. So I teach a lot, and I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, well, I also run some weekend workshops where people can come and get to experience blacksmithing and how the things are made and some of the techniques you use, and everybody goes away with something, which is always encouraging. So
That's great. That's great. Some of the artists who couldn't make it here today, since they could only take 3, I do know that, for example, Dina Gartenstein, fiber artist, will have children working on the looms. And Debbie, we talked about, you're going to have some oil painting demonstrations. Betty McIsaac, who's a textile artist, will be offering spinning demonstrations. Nancy Calicchio, painter, will have hands-on picture framing comparison demonstration. Actually, I was there when she did it last year, and people just loved it. You could take one frame and change the whole idea of the picture depending on what frame you put on. And of course, Bob, you'll be demonstrating again. And I think we need to remind people that the Putney Craft Tour will be taking place Thanksgiving weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can go, it's in Putney and Saxton's River. All of the studios are within about 12 miles of each other. You can stop in at the Gleanery restaurant in Putney or the general store and pick up a map, get a cup of coffee, and then see some of the work that these artists do and make your choice and try and visit all of them.
A lot of the artists are also available by appointment. That all our contact information is on this brochure. That will be available all year. So if you come to the tour and you want to make contact again with one of the artists, all the information is here. It's also on our website at putneycrafts.com.
So if you see these little brochures, they're all over southern Vermont, and many of them have actually been mailed out to people. You'll also
pick them up at any studio.
Any studio, correct. And then you'll also see this wonderful poster.
Visual art is my thing, and we have some wonderful visual artists. We have Judy Hawkins, who is a painter. She's out in Westminster West, and Carlene Raper lives right next to her. She does beautiful hand-dyed quilts, and Nancy Calicchio, she also lives out in Westminster West. Her work has just improved so much over the last year. I'm just so impressed. Carol Kaiser does tiles. They're beautiful hand-painted tiles, and she's also a painter. And then we've got potters. There's Ken Pick, who does amazing gigantic pieces and smaller pieces as well. What other potters do we have? David Mischke. And we have a tile maker, John Ewald and Peggy O'Toole. You want to talk about some of the other people on the tour?
Two cheesemakers.
I'll talk about the glass people.
Because they're all related to you. One way or another.
Well, we're all related, but
they've either taken classes in another.
There's Adele Byrne, who does beautiful stained glass. She's right in the center of Putney. There's Caitlin Burch, my daughter, who does jewelry and hand-blown glass. There's Josh Letourneau, who does both lampwork jewelry and hand-blown glass. He makes some beautiful small wine cups. And then there's Bob Burch,
Who's he?
he makes stuff.
He makes stuff.
Any other iron people?
Yes, there's Zach.
There's Zach.
There's Zach and John
You
Labine.
mentioned Maggie
Yes.
Lake. Say something
Oh, Maggie
about
Lake. Maggie Lake does these incredible botanical creations where she's taken stuff from the wild and has put it in picture frames, and it's just wonderful, wonderful stuff. And she has a wonderful studio and is worthwhile going to see.
Definitely.
John Labine does construction.
Yes, he has all sorts of intriguing things, much of which involves metal. And then there's Zach. There's a picture in there of Zach, isn't there, somewhere?
Zach
Anyway,
Weinberg?
yes, he does, Zach Weinberg does some really marvelous sculpture. I think as he was back in Putney when I was at Putney School, when I was instructing people at Putney, and he went off into the sculptural aspect of it, and it's really intriguing, wonderful stuff.
Yeah, it's very interesting. John Ewald. John Ewald, who does different
The
tiles. I
tiles,
just saw
and
the
we
picture
also
behind
have
us.
Liz Hawks Denord. She's a teacher at the high school, and she also does pottery. She'll be on the tour this year. Noriko Isogi does wood carving.
We also have 3 people that do jewelry. Jeannie Bennett does jewelry out of metal, and Caitlin Burch, my daughter, and Josh Letourneau do jewelry out of glass. So.
And Betsy McIsaac, who's new to the tour, has apparently the rarest breed of sheep
Yes, so that's definitely
in
something
Vermont.
to check
She has
out.
a lot of wonderful animals that
Yes.
they'll all be out
And her own
for
honey, too,
And-
which is
oh.
pretty amazing.
And I think she'll be selling eggs.
A lot,
and
and
she does wool.
she has a lot of animals.
Yeah.
Hopefully people will be able to see the animals. She has
Yeah.
a lot of sheep, some chickens, geese, 2 frisky dogs.
Wow, you've been there, I take it.
Oh, we have. It's wonderful.
And we
It's
have
wonderful.
an alpaca farm. You can visit Kathy McKinney, and the Green Mountain Spinnery is also part of our tour. I think we covered everyone.
Yeah,
I
Green
think, yeah.
Mountain Spinnery does large mechanical spinning like they used to do about probably 120 years ago, and it's really impressive what they do there. So beautiful,
I
beautiful
think you can get a
wool
tour of the factory.
and yarn.
That's great. Well, Putney, I mean, it all takes place in Putney, Vermont, which is quite
And
amazing. Putney and
Saxon's
Saxon's
River,
River,
yes.
of course. Putney and Saxon's River. But I
North-South
think-
corridor.
Yeah.
And there's always more. There's going to be refreshments at every studio, I
Yes.
think, and
Yes, and locally sourced particularly. Yes. And of course, we have to remind folks that it will be raising money for the Putney Food Shelf as well, and that each of the studios will have an item which will be for sale, and proceeds will go to the food shelf.
Should we mention our sponsors?
And we can mention, absolutely, we want to mention our sponsors. And thank goodness for our sponsors, because what could we do without them? The Putney General Store, Hidden Springs Maple, and the Brattleboro Memorial Hospital. And thank you to those sponsors, because that really helps make this all possible. So I want to thank everybody again, and I'm going to put in a little plug for my magazine. We don't want to be so hidden here in Southern Vermont in all of our artistic endeavors. So with this publication, we try and help get the word out. And thank you all for participating today, and let's hope everybody come on down and enjoy the tour.